All right, CR. So we have a Yacht Rock documentary as part of the music series that's coming on November 29th on HBO and Max.
Awesome movie.
Really fun movie. I just refuse to believe anybody wouldn't enjoy the hell out of it. The music's great, but a big person in this is Michael McDonald.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, or maybe just me, have always felt that the Sweet Freedom video from Running Scared was the official end of Yacht Rock.
Yes.
Yacht Rock was holding on for like a year and a half, 2 years. And then we had this video and we had the appearance of the movie. And then Yacht Rock kind of ends. Although we didn't know it was Yacht Rock yet. That's what the doc's about. Nobody knew it was a genre for 20 years until it became a genre belatedly.
Yeah, it becomes kind of mid-'80s leisure core, this, maybe a little Weekend at Bernie's. Like there is like a kind of a cocktail. We start to move into more of a like, what if we escaped the islands? What if we had a perma beach life?
Right.
But the idea of like, no, like let's get Steely Dan and let's get a bunch of cocaine and just kind of have a night. That kind of disappears.
Well, this all made sense in 1986 that we would have a movie with Billy Crystal and Gregory Hines as buddy cops in Chicago, and that the crucial scene in the movie would be a Michael McDonald Key West scene. I swear to God, it made sense in 1986. It's still hitting 38 years later in the same way. I love this movie, but then when they go to Key West, it's like, oh my God, this is gonna be the best 5 minutes of my life.
Yeah, it's in my mind. This scene and this part of the film was like half an hour or 40 minutes. Like,
yeah,
it's like,
what is it, like 4 minutes?
It's like 4 minutes long. It's like they go there, they basically fall in love with the place. Then they're like, oh, we got to go back and get Julio.
They meet hot girls left and right.
Oh my
they learn
God.
how to roller skate. They open a bar.
They're putting up in like Cam Thomas numbers. And then, but yeah, like when you watch this movie, it's basically a pretty by-the-numbers Chicago cop movie that's very entertaining because of the chemistry of the two detectives. But it has this weird wanderlust with this Key West sequence that kind of makes the entire movie sing.
And it's also like a different movie and maybe a movie I would have wanted more as much as I liked Running Scared. I'm totally fine with them just being in Key West, running a bar, and then like getting involved with criminals.
If I just showed somebody who'd never seen Running Scared that sequence of Key West, they would be like, this is a movie about two guys who were in love who moved to Florida to open a bar. If you just see Billy Crystal pouring beer all over Gregory Hines' like half-naked body, you'd be like, oh yeah, this is great. This is like Call Me By Your Name, but with a bar.
The 80s are very homoerotic. The bigger thing is this is a buddy cop movie during the first heyday of the buddy cop era, which started with 48 Hours. Beverly Hills Cop, you count?
Mm-hmm.
Running Scared, Stakeout, Lethal Weapon 1 and 2. I count Turner and Hooch, even though Hooch was a dog.
Yeah, we need to get into the technicalities of this a little bit.
I count Hooch.
Okay.
That's buddy cop to me. It's two cops trying to get together. One just happened to be a slobbering dog. And then Tango and Cash, that's all in the 80s. And then we move into like in the 90s. Bad Boys is the first kind of
return.
Younger brother of these movies where it's like, hey, everybody loved those movies. Let's put Will Smith and Martin Lawrence together. And then, we get Rush Hour with the other guys, 21 Jump Street, The Heat. Like, it's a recurring theme. But what are your favorites? Give me your top 4 or 5
I definitely think
ever.
that there's like, there's a Rushmore of this stuff where it's like, 48 Hours. I think Lethal Weapon's in there.
Yep. Which one? 1 or 2?
I would go 2 if you're talking about pure comedy, which is where I feel like you're kind of taking this.
I think it's 2 for Lethal Weapon because they really, and we did that on Rewatchables already. They really had figured out the characters and the comedy and the balance between comedy and
Mel
action.
Gibson spends most of the first one in a state of suicidal despair. So it's a little bit of a different vibe than 2. See, when you first asked me this, I was also thinking beyond comedy. You can go into Training Day. You can go into Miami Vice, Michael Mann. You can go into.
We sure could. I went ready to Audible and just do Miami Vice. I'm ready to do it right now.
And then I was also asking you whether or not you would make allowances for ex-cops who are now detectives or doing what, like.
Yeah, is Midnight Run a buddy cop movie?
I think it is. I think Jack was a former cop. I think there are lots of cops in it, and they are buddies eventually.
Can we say it's buddy cop adjacent?
That's fine. Yeah.
So maybe Turner and Hooch is buddy cop adjacent too, because it's the dog. This to me is the ultimate buddy cop movie because the crucial twist is these guys are best friends and they just love each other.
Yes, because most buddy cop movies are opposites attract.
Yeah, it's like, I don't like this guy. Wait, I'm starting to like him. Oh, now we got to work together. Even Bad Boys, it's very adversarial, the whole movie. This movie is like, these two guys just love each other. They have each other's back. They make jokes. They're always on the same page.
Each other way more than they love the women in their lives.
Right. Maybe that might have been why the divorce happened. But I think for me, it's 48 Hours, Lethal Weapon 2, Running Scared. And I would probably put Bad Boys the first one.
Okay.
I think that's my 4. So what's your rush?
I think I would go to just mix it up. 48 Hours, Lethal Weapon 2, Training Day, The Nice Guys.
Oh, interesting.
The Russell Crowe, Ryan Gosling
Got a
movie.
lot of requests for The Nice Guys.
It's so fucking funny.
You like that movie, Craig?
I love that movie.
I love
All right,
that
it's on the
movie.
list. Maybe we'll do it in 2025.
Okay. And
if the feed keeps going, we'll do it.
Nice Guys, Almost Famous double feature.
Yeah.
And then I'd probably go Vice.
Vice.
Yeah.
I don't think that. I think you have to have humor to have it be a
All right,
buddy
then
cop
I'll do
movie.
Midnight Run. I'll take my Midnight Run.
Because if we're just doing cops, then that opens like French Connection and like we're in this whole other universe of cops.
Okay, so
you know what
48
I mean?
Hours 2. Sorry, 48 Hours, Lethal Weapon 2, The Nice Guys, Running Scared, Midnight Run. Those are my 5.
Well, if Midnight Run counts, that has to be. And so maybe it's those 4 and then Midnight Run.
Or
It's
Turner
like
and
the
Hooch,
the 6th man off the bench because it's not necessarily a buddy cop. I think the 2 that have to be on there are 48 Hours and Lethal Weapon 2.
Yeah.
I think they have to be on every list.
Both of those exemplify what you're talking about, which is that do these movies basically succeed because the actual point of watching them is to see these people become friends rather than whatever the case is. Like, you and I have watched Lethal Weapon 500 times. We know about, like, in Lethal Weapon 2, the South African bad guys in Lethal Weapon 2. I always forget who the bad guy is in Running Scared until I'm fired it up and start watching it again. Because, like
Smits.
Yeah, but the plot is kind of this like opaque thing where you're just like, they're just chasing this guy all over Chicago over and over and over again. And it's because the fact that you don't have to worry about whether they're going to become friends. I think you almost concentrate more on the crime part of Running Scared.
Yeah, and the chase scenes, all that stuff. Couple big elements. I mean, Chicago is used incredibly. We'll get to that later. They're catching 2 guys at a perfect point in their careers.
I want to ask you about this.
Which I think like 48 Hours catches Eddie at the beginning of the apex, the 5 years of him flying as close to the sun as you're going to get as a comedian. And then Nolte at a really good stage of his career too, right as he's starting to become a cranky older drunk, but he's still handsome enough, but now he's got some baggage. This movie has Crystal coming out of SNL when he was the star of the 10th season of SNL when they did like the all-star cast. And he's in there for 1 year, and he goes from being a comedian that everybody liked, who was on Soap TV show from 50 years ago, to becoming like a real star, like a comedy star that made you want to know what his movie was going to be. You knew the movie was coming halfway through that season, and this was the movie. And then Hines, I think people really liked Hines. I want to talk. We can talk about this now or later. I don't know why he wasn't a bigger movie star, other than I don't think there were like a ton of black actor parts.
No, I mean
that's really the reason.
That was a big draw for him for this role, was to get to play like a fully fleshed out character who gets to have sex with women and make jokes and be an equal partner in a partnership with a white guy. Like
make a 20-footer and Chicago cold. Yeah, so Gregory Hines, he's a tap dancer. He's like this great dancer in real life. And he's in History of the World Part 1, Mel Brooks. A movie that I love. I don't know if it's aged probably great.
Seen it in a long time, but yeah.
It might have to be in What's Aged the Worst month. But he was a replacement for Richard Pryor because Richard Pryor had the freebasing accent. Richard Pryor was supposed to be in that scene, so Hines is in it. And he's really good. He was supposed to be in 48 Hours and dropped out because he got this big part in Cotton Club, which was the Coppola movie everyone thought was going to be massive. It wasn't. And then he was in White Nights.
With Baryshnikov,
which was a kind of a big deal movie in 1985. It was a big deal. He was in a movie. It was like, I didn't love it, but it was a thing. And then Running Scared, but it never really 100% happened for him. So why? Is it just as simple as there weren't enough parts for black actors?
I think it probably comes down to that. There's It's funny, if you just watch this movie, you would think that he'd made 10 other movies like this, though. He seems very at home doing this kind of like city
wisecracking
comedy
action
thriller. Yeah. He seems very comfortable shooting a gun and running around and making jokes with Billy Crystal. And that was the thing that actually I think really like is sad is like his comic chops are kind of on the level of Crystal's in this movie.
Yeah.
They're doing this funny thing where Gregory Hines being a dancer, you would expect him to be physically capable. Crystal's cut. Like Crystal, when he
had
takes
like a six pack. My wife noticed that. She's like, Jesus, Billy Crystal.
Yeah. So there's like almost this weird, like, if you project forward, could Gregory Hines have done a bunch of Danny Glover, Denzel Washington roles, and could Billy Crystal have done more of the like masculine Tom Hanks roles of the 90s if like things had changed like broken differently? Like they wind up going on these separate paths and never really doing something like Running Scared again.
Yeah, Crystal has that SNL season. He's second billing in Running Scared, which speaks to like he was a TV star that nobody knew if he could carry a movie yet. It's Princess Bride, Throw Mama from the Train, When Harry Met Sally, it blows up, and then City Slickers. And that's all from 86 to 91. He's hosting the Oscars by then and becomes like A-plus list Billy Crystal. Never did another cop movie like this.
Yeah, it's like, but also
it's
the
really
things
strange.
That he gets famous for are like being a nebbish guy who wears chunky sweaters. And in this movie, he's like, I like the Cubs. I like women, drinking beer, and like having police-involved shootings.
Well, I had this later for the hottest take. I'm just going to do it now. They left so much money on the table with this.
I know. I
just don't understand it. I don't understand how there weren't 4 of these. Because first of all, this movie did pretty well when it came out, but then it was just on cable for 5 straight years. Yeah. And everybody loved this movie. And Billy Crystal got bigger. And it's a little like, at some point, it's just common sense. Like, let's run it back. Like Lethal Weapon did this.
He got so big for a different kind of thing than Running Scared that he didn't want to go back and do Running Scared.
You know, I don't know if I've never had him on my podcast. I would love to have him. I don't know whether he felt like he was becoming like family-friendly Oscars guy and didn't want to do another movie where he had like guns and R-rated movie with bad guys. It's the only thing I can think of.
Because Danny in this movie is like the polar opposite of the guy who plays in City Slickers.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I'll go further. I don't think he's ever played a guy remotely like this again. I mean, this guy has nothing in common with any other character he played. It would almost be like if Ben Stiller was this guy, was Danny Costanzo.
Yeah.
And then it just like never anything again like it.
They kind of, so this script was a screenplay that had been written about like 2 older cops who really want to retire.
Yeah.
And it was supposed to be kind of like these grizzled guys at the end of their careers.
In New York City.
And so maybe the reason why this whole thing works is because it wasn't like written for Crystal.
Yeah.
It was, here's a script, here's an idea. We're going to make these guys younger. And then obviously when you watch it, whether it's like improvised and then written or improvised on the set, like so much of the dialogue seems like it's just coming from these guys. Like,
yeah, and you could feel it. I don't know if they filmed it in sequence, but it feels like it does. And you could just feel them getting better with each other as the movie's going along, which I think 48 Hours had that too. Bad Boys definitely had it. Lethal Weapon 2 definitely had it. Like the more the guys spend together, if they like each other, you start to feel it in the movie. And we've seen a lot of movies where they throw the cops together and you don't have that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But it's like, I'm not sure why this didn't work.
Also in those kinds of movies, you can at least be like, well, these guys, the characters don't like each other. So if the chemistry is not perfect yet, that's fine. In this movie, these guys have to be best friends from the first scene, from the title sequence. They're like, we spend all of our time with each other. I walk in when this guy's having sex with a woman with donuts. Like, that has to be like,
yeah, you've known each other for 25 years. It's like in Fantasy.
That's right.
When you walk in on Fantasy in coitus. So we had, I think Bad Boys was the younger brother. And then we had that whole era with the sons of these movies, which I think the other guys is in there. And Nice Guys.
Yeah.
21 Jump Street definitely is inspired by both the 80s plus this. The Heat, I think, is really good. It's on the
really
Rewatchables list. That movie's kind of underrated, actually. I think it did well. It's good, but I actually think it should have like a second tail.
The Heat also has like a really good YouTube channel. Like it's basically like all the bloopers and stuff from the Heat. It's kind of like Anchorman, where it's like almost as good as the scenes in the movie.
This movie has another big picture thing. The aspirational bar thing,
there we go.
which is core to your character,
core to our
your
character.
beliefs.
Yeah.
These guys they're in Chicago. It's freezing cold. They're getting shot at. They're dealing with all these scumbags and lowlifes. And they both have this epiphany, like, why are we doing this?
Yeah.
And they go to Florida. They go to Key West.
They take Aunt Rose's.
They take Aunt Rose's $40,000.
Yeah.
And they have this great time. And they're looking at a bar and they're like, bar for lease. Why wouldn't we could just live here and this could be our life? And he talks Gregory Hines into it. And all of a sudden they're at the bank and you're just like, yeah, guys, why don't you just do this? Like, get out of the Chicago life. I haven't seen a movie like this really ask that question.
No.
Like, why are we doing this? Why am I putting my life on the line for this asshole detective for barely any money? I'm going to get replaced by these two younger cops that are, just going to take my spot. Like, what's the point?
I think that if they had just stayed in Key West, this is like one of my 10 favorite movies.
And they open a bar and then Gonzalez comes down and it becomes like he sends like, guys to torture them.
I'm going to make the keys into my like major cocaine highway. That would have been awesome. Yeah. It's basically like, it is Cocktail and for like 5 minutes in this movie. And then you're like, I just want them to stay here and hang out.
Right. When Flanagan's in Jamaica.
Yeah.
And it's just like this one part of the movie, but it's the best part of the movie. And it's also the part of the movie where you're like, this could have just been the movie.
Yeah.
I don't know if we needed the before or after. Obviously, we did. There's
Shout
a lot
out to
of
this
great stuff.
film, though. For the most part, I think the most used location in this film is that bar in Chicago that they're in.
Which I feel like I've seen in 40 other Chicago movies.
Yeah, and it's like all these things that are very like old bar, like hot peanuts, and everybody's drinking like on tap.
There's like
beer.
a framed Cubs like shiny helmet poster. All right, so we've done this before, but it's too important not to do again. This crazy run Chicago has in the mid-'80s with movies, which came a lot from like I think The Mayor, and they're trying to like get people to film there and make money from there. But just in the mid-'80s, About Last Night, Running Scared, Code of Silence with Chuck Norris, a movie that I support. And the moment you text me and like, let's do Code of Silence, I'm in. Ferris Bueller. Would you count Uncle Buck?
Yeah, I would count the Hughes.
All
like
the Hughes movies,
Chicago
they're like
universe.
suburban.
Yeah.
But Ferris definitely. Adventures of Babysitting, Color of Money.
Yeah.
Above the Law with Seagal.
Mm-hmm.
And The Untouchables.
Yeah.
And there's like 50 more, but those are like the big ones. And they're all filming in and around Chicago for like 4 years.
I would say you could even say it starts with Thief in 81.
Yep.
And it goes to The Fugitive.
Well, it starts with Blues Brothers.
Blues Brothers. And it goes
and Thief.
Blues Brothers and Thief all the way through The Fugitive.
It has this crazy, crazy, amazing pop culture decade in Chicago that just goes away.
Yeah.
It's not just the city. It's in the suburbs around it. Risky Business is in there.
Mm-hmm.
It's all over the place. And I don't know what happens in the 90s.
It just is a great architectural city.
Yeah.
And it's so distinctive. And the best part about this movie is how they use Chicago as a playground. Like there are shootouts and scenes in places where you're like, why are they at the convention center? Like why are they at the Illinois State Capitol Government Center? But they're
driving on the tracks.
Yeah, it's all the stuff with the L is awesome. Yeah.
Chicago also has that overhanging subway where when there's shootouts, you kind of always know where you are in the city. Yeah. I think Boston used to be like that. It's a little because they got rid of some of the overground
subways. Yes,
but
trains.
It's pretty cool when you kind of know where you are. There's that great airport chase as well. So yeah, Chicago. Ferris probably still is the number one.
Sure,
for how it uses downtown Chicago. But I think About Last Night, start to finish, is like an amazing Chicago movie.
There's also something about the fact that they do it in winter in Chicago. Like there's something very funny when those guys take their pants off and they're both wearing long johns. They brought in foam to like make snow because they clearly wanted to have winter in that city to be a huge character in this.
We didn't do About Last Night. Why haven't we done that?
I don't know.
I went on Rob Lowe's podcast.
Did you really?
/show a couple days ago to promote the Yacht Rock thing. It's not out yet. And I just like immediately turned on him. I just started asking about 80s movies and how About Last Night created rom-coms.
Was he wearing the NFL hat?
No, he wasn't. But it's like About Last Night really did create the rom-com. Is he
still like proud of all those movies and stuff?
Oh, yeah. Okay. I don't know if he's proud of Hotel New Hampshire. And I think there's maybe one might have taken that one back.
Yeah.
But all right, a couple other people in this movie.
A couple.
Joey Pants.
Yeah. As Snake.
We named the That Guy category after Joey Pants, but then there was like a backlash because he's definitely Joey Pants.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Maybe we have to come up with another name, but this is his 80s run of Midnight Run, Risky Business, Eddie and the Cruisers, and then eventually Fugitive and Bad Boys, and he becomes Joe Pantoliano at some point. I don't feel like in Running Scared he's Joe Pantoliano yet. He's that guy who is Guido the Killer Pimp.
The all-time 80s hood is like Snake wearing his like secondhand overcoat and his like red mohawk.
With like some sort of color at the top. Were you excited to see Joey Pants, Craig?
Always am. Love him. All-time grimy dirtbag.
Were you expecting it?
I'm always expecting Joey Pants.
Yeah, I don't blame you. If it's in the 80s, you just have to assume he's coming. So he's great in this. Yeah. I know you have some Darlene Flugel, one of the worst names of any leading actress.
As Anna?
Darlene Flugel, but she was in your beloved To Live and Die in L.A.
She sure was. Yeah.
She was in this. She was in season 1 of Crime Story, the Michael Mann TV show, and then Everything Peaks and Lock Up with Sly Stallone.
Yeah.
But pretty short run for Darlene.
But it's like she came through the league and she set it on fire and then she just retired early. It's like Andrew Luck.
She looks great.
Yeah.
If her name is Julia Roberts, is she in like 10 more years of movies?
I think that she does not have like the screen presence of, say, a Rebecca De Mornay. While I personally really find her very charming, and
she's charming, not like super,
but she is not like magnetic, where it's like I have like a ton of like on-screen charisma. You know,
it's probably the run she should have had, but it's a run that I appreciate, and I have no idea how to say her name. The music video, is a crucial part of this movie. It was on MTV all the time. Michael McDonald, I encourage people to watch it. Michael McDonald actually is in scenes. I think they flew him down there when they were filming the movie. He's in like Crystal Hines stuff. Those guys are overselling it. And it's kind of when they learned how to market a movie with a music video right around here.
This is a thing that definitely was a huge deal in the 80s. It goes all the way up through like Terminator 2, where you have somehow like the movie bleeds into the music video, but it's unique to the music video footage. So in the music video for Sweet Freedom, Hines and Crystal are like, oh, we got a postcard from Mike down in Key West. We got to go visit him. It's like a whole other narrative. And yeah, you were wanting to make the Yacht Rock connection. This is the first movie I thought of when you were like, we got to do a Yacht Rock movie, because it's like explicitly broadcasting like this is the vibe of this movie. It's a hangout and it's a party.
I'm going to read our exact text chain as we were trying to figure out what to do with the Rewatchables. And I texted you, there's a lot of Embiid tweets.
I think you were like, were we too hard on Embiid in the pod?
No,
and then I
earlier.
Sent you the tweet about Joel Embiid's doing a mole hunt.
Yeah. Well, you also texted me, I was Googling the long-term effects of Bell's palsy, was a text from you. So I texted, was trying to think of a good Yacht Rock movie because the doc comes out next week. And you just texted back, running scared with an exclamation point. And my text back was, oh yeah.
That was easy.
And that was it. That was how we landed on this one. Directed by Peter Hyams.
Yeah.
Written by Gary DeVore and Jimmy Huston. I don't know who did the music video. McDonald talked about after how he was super uncomfortable filming it. And that's a little bit of what our Yacht Rock doc is about, is those guys were having a great run, and then music videos when you have to look good and you have to be actors in videos, and those guys are like, what?
Yeah,
what do
those guys
do?
were session cats.
Yeah,
and,
they
like,
were
music nerds.
They wanted you to listen to their music.
Do you feel the same way about pods going to video?
Right. That was when we were trying to get you to be on video for the first time.
I was like, no, man. It's all about the audio fidelity.
You really are the Michael McDonald of pods. You're going from pod to pod.
I wish I should start like a Steely Dan type thing where I just keep firing Andy.
Replacing with a session podcaster.
With a session podder. No, agree with me more.
Yeah. The budget, don't know what it was. No record of it, but it made $38.5 million. Yeah. So I'm guessing it made money. It was the 26th biggest movie of 1986. You mailed me, or you texted me a list of movies from 86 that were all in the theater at the same time?
This is the weekend that Running Scared came out.
Go ahead, rattle it off.
Okay. Number 1, Karate Kid Part 2, top of the box.
Saw in the theater.
Back to School, Rodney Dangerfield.
Some of the funniest scenes of the 80s.
Legal Eagles, so we get a little Daryl
I liked
Hannah.
it.
Yeah. Ruthless People,
Solid.
Running Scared,
Amazing.
Top Gun after being out for however
Re-release
long.
Top Gun.
Yeah.
Great.
Ferris Bueller's Day Off,
Awesome.
Labyrinth, Bowie,
Nah, I didn't like that one.
American Anthem,
Oh, yeah. Mitch Gaylord. It's one of
The Gymnast.
one of the 6 worst sports movies of all time.
I don't
Janet
think I've ever
Jones is
even-
in that.
Really?
Yeah. If we ever do worst sports movies ever month,
American Anthem.
American Anthem and Jim Cotter are 2 of the 4.
I love you knowing that that's one of the 6 worst sports movies of all time.
Absolutely one of the worst movies you've ever seen. They were trying to capitalize off his 1984 gold medal. So he's playing like, his name's like Mike Gason.
Yeah.
It's like his name's
Rich
like
Laylord,
barely
yeah.
different.
Yeah.
And he's like a guy, he's like, he could be, it's like basically a Tom Cruise part.
Sure.
His own worst enemy is himself, but he's got so much talent and his girlfriend believes in him. And Janet Jones is the girlfriend. That's how she became Janet Jones. Anyway.
American Anthem, number 10, Cobra, number 11, Short Circuit. There
Wow.
are 11 movies in the theaters that you would basically be like, I'll see that this weekend.
So we've done 4 of those on the Rewatchables, and I don't know why we haven't done Back to School yet.
Yeah.
I honestly don't know.
I mean,
You know Back to School, Craig? Rodney Dangerfield. It's a movie that would be, we actually should do it because it's about, he's this rich guy who decides to go back to college so he can get a degree, so he'll be taken more seriously, and he just does offensive rich guy stuff for 2 hours.
You were asking for Ringer Movies video ideas. First, for Body Double, we came up with you start going to acting classes to fuck with people.
Right, yeah.
You should go back to
set
college.
up murders. Yeah. If I go back at
You should go
another
to college
master's.
with Ben.
That'd be great. I'll go with him. We can room together. We're starting to think about colleges next spring. Roger Ebert, 3 stars.
He liked it.
Running Scared is yet another movie about street smart cops who are best buddies, wisecracking their way through one hair-raising situation after another. I just want to pause there. Settle down, Raj. There was only like 3 of those. It wasn't like there was a slew of these coming out.
Yeah.
And by the way, more should have come out. So settle down, Raj. This genre is so overpopulated. Again, settle down. It hardly seems like we need one more example. And yet, Running Scared transcends its dreary roots and turns out to be a lot of fun. Most of the fun comes from Hines, Crystal, et cetera, et cetera.
In his review for the Times, I think Vincent Canby says the same thing much more negatively, and I think was referencing the fact that there was a ton of this stuff on TV too. So he's like, you'd be better served staying home and watching Cagney and Lacey or Miami Vice.
So maybe that was the issue, is that people were ripping off 48 Hours with TV shows,
Yeah.
and that's what people were not responding to. All right, rewatchable scenes. I mean, this movie starts with a pickup basketball scene where people get punched and then there's a chase. What else do we want?
Yeah.
What else do we want? We get no autopsy, no foul. I think Billy Crystal created that. He sees a Mercedes in a bad neighborhood. He goes, "It's Mercedes is a probable cause." Good line. We get a chase scene with Snake, Joe Pantoliano, who's carrying $50K. And then we just have to have Craig play this whole thing. Crystal, it's like they do the move. This is one of my favorite action movie comedy moves of, this guy has something, and instead of us bringing him in,
We're going to get him in more trouble.
yeah, we're
somehow.
going to leave him,
Yeah.
hang him out to dry in the neighborhood. And he basically tells everyone, hey, this guy's $50,000.
So I cannot leave this podcast without asking you this question.
Yeah.
What's the coldest weather you've ever played pickup in? Taking it so seriously.
I really appreciate the question.
It's like, what's your stance on fluoride in drinking water? It feels like.
So pickup,
Outdoor pickup, shooting around, shooting bucks.
I don't think this cold. I think shooting by myself, definitely this cold.
Do you know how much these guys fucking love basketball?
Do you
know
to
what
be
I mean?
out there in 28-degree weather?
In Chicago in the
Yeah.
winter to be shooting hoops?
My issue is there's no way the court wouldn't have like ice patches and like terrible things that could happen.
Do you think this
to
is just the power of would this be rookie Michael Jordan?
second year Michael
And
Jordan?
he's just sweeping Chicago with basketball fever that they're keeping warm with Air Jordans.
This might honestly be Apex Mountain for Chicago. They're filming all these movies, and Jordan's about to be like a rocket ship.
And Crystal and Hines are basically spending the entire time promoting the Sox and the Cubs.
Yeah. Yeah. This is a great scene. Also, I like for a short scene, Snake in the police lineup next to the four cops. That's him. That's the one. Snake gets killed. Tough one.
That's where the movie kind of takes this weird turn where I'm like, I guess we're gonna shoot each other in the head with Uzis.
It's like, oh, this is rated R.
Yeah.
Okay. He makes a Colombian necktie reference too. The entire Key West sequence, which I can't believe how many categories this swept. I'm just gonna all do them now.
Yes.
The Kid Cudi Pursuit of Happiness Award for Best Needle Drop.
Duh.
Great Shot Gordo Award for Most Cinematic Shot, The Sunset. I mean, you go like multiple.
Yeah. I mean, what about Great Shot Gordo for the matching tits t-shirts that they're
I mean, you can do that. I had that for Fortune 3 Clap Award for Most Giftable Moment. Den of Thieves, Benihana, Scene Stealing Location, Key West.
Yeah, I had the Illinois State Building, but yes.
It starts out with we're watching the sunset with like the most gorgeous blonde possible.
Yeah.
And Hines and Crystal, just a unspoken, this one's for you. And Hines, they do like a little switch. But then later, 2 white girls on the boat, which was a big deal in that. Yeah, by the way, I should mention Van Lathan, we always said we would do this with him. He's devastated.
He is.
He should be here. He's in New York City this week. We realized we want to do this for the Yacht Rock doc, and we don't have Van. I think Van would have had a lot of thoughts.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't remember seeing that, in a movie like this. First of all, Gregory Hines getting laid, which I had for What Stage the Best, because they were always careful with that.
Multiple times, yeah.
Yeah, he's just all types of women for Greg in this one. But we have them on the Honda Elite scooters.
With the quick cut, every time it cuts, they have different girls on the back of the scooter.
Little known fact, those Honda Elite scooters, the exact one that I crashed 40 miles an hour and almost died. Yeah.
Did you? So what injuries did you walk away with?
A lot.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. It's fine. I'm here now. The boobs t-shirts and the roller skates.
Yeah.
Danny talks Ray into buying a bar. I feel like it would be this easy for you.
For like if you were just like, you want to buy a bar?
Yeah, like we were just next to a bar that had a lease, and I was like, should we buy this?
I think about this 3 times a week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Promise me we will get robbed a lot. Roller skating out of the bank.
Yeah.
Every piece of this, I think it's one of the most perfect 4 minutes of the 80s.
There are 3 things that you've already forgotten. Gregory Hines' Walter Payton jersey.
Right.
Jacked Crystal.
Yeah.
Like completely jacked Crystal.
6-pack Crystal.
And the fact that these guys never seem to hook up with women alone. They're always having kind of like a group sex
early
situation.
swingers?
Yeah. Yeah.
Did this movie create swinging? Important question. Is it time to retire the Kid Cudi Pursuit of Happiness Award and rename it the Michael McDonald Sweet Freedom Award?
Yes.
What do you think, Craig?
My generation says hell no.
Yeah.
Well, we do have to appeal to the younger kids.
That's right, the Zoomers.
The kids love Kid Cudi,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, all right, fine. The little kid leading them to Gonzalez. I like that scene.
I
That's
like
where we get
the apartment building shootout is awesome.
Ablo Smith and Wesson. You have the right to a corridor. Crystal's got great lines.
If you can't
in this
afford
movie.
one, we'll get you a medical examiner.
Really good stairway chase scene. Throwing the pants.
Yeah.
I enjoy all that. We have an airport chase scene where this movie becomes Ronin for like 3 minutes.
Yeah. The second half of this movie, it feels much longer than the first half. Just because of the amount of chase sequence after chase sequence after chase sequence.
I like driving on the train tracks. I like when Gonzalez lifts the cab up and it
Yeah.
seems like they're going to get crushed to death. And then the ending, look, we get the double elevator.
Awesome.
Julio, you want your Coke? Come and get it.
My Coke!
My Coke! I got him. No, I got him. Good ending. All right, so we don't even need to negotiate this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, what are we doing? What's the most 1986 thing about this movie? Jimmy Smits is a bad guy.
Mm-hmm.
The song Sweet Freedom by Michael McDonald
Pretty close.
being shoehorned in a great way. The Walter Payton jersey that you mentioned. This
What
was
about-
also the year the Bears won the Super Bowl. See, this was Apex
on.
Mountain for Chicago.
We don't even skip Apex.
85 Bears, Jordan, a million movies being filmed in there. What else did we want?
We also have
The 1983 White Sox cap,
awesome hat.
which was like a specific, like cool looking White Sox cap. Darlene Flugel feels very 1986
For
to me.
sure.
Joey Pants with hair.
Yeah.
And the Honda Elite scooters.
What about the preponderance of roller skating as a mode of transportation, and it's something that people like did all the time for fun?
Yeah, now those would be those like stupid blue bikes that Craig drives around. Drive those?
The blue bikes?
Those e-blue bikes, whatever those little...
Are those in New York more than they are in LA?
No, they're in LA.
Do you ride rented bikes around?
No, he's a big blue bike guy.
What? Yeah, I love them. I play Pods Out Loud.
I actually think the most 86 thing is the Honda Elites. Because remember there was a big ad campaign that year for those, and it just feels like a very era specific. Like you never see them anymore. I guess they've turned into the blue bikes.
Yeah, I think I would love to have like a scooter revolution in this country. Not the Lime scooters where they just leave them outside your house, but like the actual like I have a scooter. This is how I get around town.
Those things would go like 55.
Well,
like
you
I used
tested
to
those limits.
Yeah, I used to take it on the highway with no helmet.
Where did you get in your
times.
accident?
Side street.
Okay.
But
and what happened? You took a turn too fast, or what?
Old lady cut in front of me.
Oh.
Yeah. Who died of natural causes 6 months later.
Right then?
Great.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
It's great. That has not aged the best. What's aged the best? Ray Hughes and Danny Costanzo.
Is there this is literally what I have written down. Is there any more like absolutely archetypal cop names?
Danny Costanzo's really started. A bad guy in Chicago wanting to be the next Al Capone. I miss it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Al Capone, I
and
don't
he's
feel
trying to he's trying to make himself like more presentable by like where he's moving and his business ties. Yeah.
People still knew who Al Capone was. You know who Al Capone is, Craig?
Yeah, I'm aware.
It's like 100 years old at this point.
He invented blue bikes.
What else do you have?
I have Dan Hedaya / Angry Lieutenants.
Right.
Just I feel like because it became such a trope and a cliche, we've moved away from the Angry Lieutenant.
No, but it was 70s TV.
It was Inspector
48
Todd.
Hours,
yeah.
Inspector Todd, and then it became like a joke to have an Angry Lieutenant.
I wish you would kind of sometimes get a little Inspector Todd with me and be like, Ryan, get in my fucking office! Like, just for no reason. If you just hang out.
The hell is going on in the watch? Why are you talking about disclaimer? That show sucks.
The commissioner chewed my ass out. The mayor chewed his ass out. And now I'm chewing your ass out.
I got Daniel Eck on the phone wondering why we're talking about Apple shows. The fuck out of my office. What's age the best?
That's right, Bill. I work up on the edge.
That's right. I like Apple shows.
Presumed Innocent was
good.
really good.
Gyllenhaal was good. And I hope there's a season 2. Fuck you. A buddy cop movie that has rival buddy cops.
Yes.
Like if we ever write an action movie, it's definitely the two guys, but there's two up and comers that give them shit constantly.
Also, the part that's clearly apart from the movie that they wrote for way older cops.
Right.
Because Stephen Bauer and the other guy are the same age as Gregory Hines. And
Right. It's like they're up and comers.
But they're like, these young bucks that we have to show. But yeah.
Speaking of Stephen Bauer.
Everything that guy fucking wears and says and does in this movie is amazing.
I wrote mid-'80s Stephen Bauer. You can smell the cocaine coming off him.
No, wasn't he clean by this point? Wasn't that the whole body double thing?
Whatever he's going for in this, he looks like Dirk Diggler when he's going to that guy's house.
There's one scene where he's got like an overcoat over his vest, over like a flannel shirt. I love the Chicago layering.
The crazy beard. Yeah. He looks like he hasn't showered in a month. Amazing job by him. This nice little Stephen Bauer run. Scarface, Thief of Hearts, this movie.
Yeah.
Nice little run. Here's one for you specifically. The bad guy in the movie who does something horrible and then ends up right back on the streets, followed by the cops going, he's back out on the streets?
I have that.
Does this happen in real life?
No,
ever?
I have that for What's Age the Worst.
Well, but it has to, it's an essential for any action movie.
It's like, what do you mean the witness recanted their statement?
How is he out?
This guy fucking kills another person with an Uzi right in front of these guys.
In front of 4 cops.
And they're like, we can't make it stick. I'm like, swear an affidavit. What is wrong with
it's a picking hit. It's a What's Age the Worst. It's also What's Age the Best because I feel like it's a staple of all of these movies.
Yeah.
You can't keep a bad guy in jail. He's just going to get out.
I also have What's Age the Best. This never happens anymore, but it was one of my favorite things is characters in movies and TV, but also in real life, just like barging into someone's house uninvited. Like every time Crystal goes into Gregory Hines' apartment and turns on the police siren and stuff, like that kind of like boners just coming over to Mike's house on Growing Pains.
Right.
Well,
unannounced stop-bys in the 80s. We didn't have text. We didn't have email.
Sure.
Nobody had cell phones. You just kind of drop by
someone's house. You get home from practice and your friend was randomly in your kitchen looking in your cabinets.
They do that anymore, Craig?
Yeah, we still do that.
When is the last time somebody randomly stopped by without letting you know? It was just like I
have no memory of that in my life because of cell phones.
I was walking home yesterday from getting a coffee, and I stopped by my friends Howard and Marnie's house because they live like 5 blocks.
Did you text like I'm right outside?
I just did an unannounced stop by, rang the door because I knew Marnie is a Steelers fan. I knew she was going to be home because the game was on in like 40 minutes. And she was delighted to see me. We had a great little 5-minute walk. I had my coffee. I never came in. I just left. I was like, this is what the 80s were like.
Did you
just stop by and
do
said
to
hi
her
to people?
What you do to me where you're just like, here's all the reasons why the Steelers aren't a real Super Bowl candidate? Or like,
no, I did. So she's like, no, it's the Browns. We're going to win. But I still want to watch. I'm like, be nervous. It's going to snow. It's Mike Tomlin. He's 0-7 on Thursday. It's like, dude, like you're going to be sweating this game out.
I'm sure she was like, thanks for coming by, Bill.
Yeah. So a dead bad guy coming down an escalator.
Yes.
Another one. Just mark that down for our movie.
Yeah.
So like how the guy at the bumps, like, I just like it. Dan Hedaya saying, you are the detectives. Go and detect. Young Jimmy Smits eventually became the president of the United States on West Wing.
Yeah, Matt Santos.
The big shootout when he says, promise you'll go without me to Florida. And he's like, okay, I do. And he's like, you go without me. I really like the poster. I'm going to show. What's my camera? That's the poster.
Oh, right. Because of the graffiti on the...
And notice Gregory Hines to the left of Billy Crystal in the poster, running scared. 2 of Chicago's finest, ? Good poster.
Speaking of that poster and the car in it, I miss lots of places used to do this. Company cars, the carpool. And my dad used to, when he worked at the Inquirer, used to have one of 5 Chevy Cavaliers that you could just take. And
we did it at the Ringer?
I was kind of
just Jack Sanders taking out our Ringer Prius. Where is it? I don't know. Jack had it 2 days ago.
And then it comes back and it says unmarked police car.
On it. I'm gonna check with Daniel Eck because I gotta smooth out this Apple TV thing with him.
See if you can bridge the gap there.
Any other What's Age the Best?
I just had the derision people had for croissants back in the 80s and like anything European,
I really missed that. Yeah.
Before like cafe culture really hit America, it was like croissants. You want a croissant?
Our hatred for the French really gave me fuel in the 80s, and I still try to keep it alive. The Big Kahuna Burger Award, best use of food and drink. Really strong birthday cake. That was all I got.
Yeah, I mean, all of the like just draft Pilsner that they drink, I think is probably up there. And I bet they had some pretty good seafood in Key West. They pull it right out of the ocean, the lobster and the squid.
I forgot to mention the What's Age the Best.
Oh, also the lunch that the girls serve on the boat. When they're like lunch and it's like margaritas and shrimp.
Oh, yeah, that's the winner.
Yeah.
I forgot to mention What's Age the Best. Something about Chicago bars look great in movies.
Yes.
And the best one is the About Last Night bar.
Yes.
I think that might be that one. And what was that bar that we said it was used in The Godfather? It was used, The Verdict used it and pretended it was in Boston.
It was New York,
whatever that bar was.
It's a New York bar in the Lower East Side in Alphabet City or something like that. But it's been used in a bunch of movies no matter where they are.
This bar in this movie is a really strong one.
I don't know if they shot this on a soundstage or what, but like I love the fact that these guys use this bar as their living room.
Really good bar in Copland.
Oh, incredible!
It's got
bar.
The back room.
Leota and Edie Falco.
Yeah. Cheers, probably my favorite bar with the square in the middle. I like when the bartenders are in the middle.
Yeah,
and they can kind of.
Did Cheers have TVs?
Yeah, they had 2.
Okay.
They were over in the corner but when you were going back to play pool, it was over.
Okay.
They would watch like
Celtics?
they were watching the hockey game in one episode, and Diane changed it to the opera.
Oh, I remember that
big episode. The Butch's Girlfriend Award, weak link of the film. I really like this film. Do you have a weak link? Because I have one.
I just don't think that Danny and Anna have such magnetic chemistry that it would explain her like loving him so much that she like can't be with him, then leaving her dentist like fiance to go back with him.
It's fair. There's a deleted scene that explains it though.
Okay.
Huge cock. Like tripod level.
Where do we see it?
Yeah, it's on YouTube. No, I don't know. I felt the same way. I don't know. I don't know what's going on there.
Yeah.
There's like a scene missing where we don't know why they broke up. They seem like they still really like each other.
Yeah.
She kind of does a passing reference to you care about your job more than a relationship, and then
when he's like, "I'm moving to Florida," she's just like, "I'm back in." Obviously, yeah.
It's a strong weak link, but I think mine is better.
Let's hear it.
Billy Crystal in Running Scared is playing an Italian Chicago cop named Danny Costanzo.
It's really difficult. I think he also crosses himself at one point. Yeah.
I'm a half Italian. On behalf of at least a half Italians, I think
a lot of people out there doubting your credentials.
Well, they go to I think they're
because of the gabagool.
People are talking about me in the streets. Oh, the gabagool. I never heard it called that.
Yeah,
gabagool.
Gabagool.
Yeah.
I just screwed it up. I'm old.
I'm just saying.
Why not make him a half Italian, half Jewish?
I think it would have been fine. It just seems like they were just like, this is what the script says, and he wasn't yet at like the Billy Crystal level of like, okay, here's my character.
Billy Crystal, one of the more openly this guy seems Jewish famous actors we've had. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah.
Like him just being like, no, I'm going to be Italian in this. I was like, I just make
That's
him
a good
half
Mount
and
Rushmore.
half. What?
This guy must be Jewish acting Mount Rushmore.
I mean, he's leaned into it a bunch of movies and TV shows, right? It just felt like, I didn't know why they did it. Why not just change his name? Or why not have him make a joke about, oh, the Italian side of my family,
Sure.
I got to do that.
The Aunt Rosie side.
Something. Instead, it's like, I'm Danny Costanzo. Hey, oh. Like Seagal, they did this too, where he played a super Italian one in one of the Seagal movies.
I mean, it's just weird
like,
enough seeing him wearing all that Cubs shit because you know he's like a huge Yankees fan, right?
Yeah, that's how desperate he was to be in the movie. What's age the worst? I mean, number one, so Paul Walker, may he rest in peace. I love Paul Walker, but he made a movie in 2006 called Running Scared, and it's really caused a lot of confusion on cable, on streamers. When you Google this
100%
movie,
100% people are going to be like, when we announce we're doing Running Scared.
Yeah, we're going to have to put the
Walker?
year. We're going to put Running Scared 1986 in the title of the pod.
That happened with Bad Boys.
But Running Scared 2006 is not a good movie, and I like Paul Walker.
Sure.
But it's not. And I just don't know why they named it Running Scared. Running Scared was successful enough that you can't just be like, we'll name it Running Scared. Like when Heat became Heat, and they were like, well, there was a Burt Reynolds movie called Heat 8 years earlier, and Michael Mann was like, well, fuck that. That movie was terrible. We're calling it Heat. And that was fine, because Heat was terrible. But this is different. Bugs me. What do you got?
Uzis? Do they even make those anymore? Like, everybody's got an Uzi in this movie? That was a huge 80s thing.
And then Uzis went away.
I don't even know. But, like, they don't show up in movies anymore, for sure. Like, there's no Uzis in John Wick. Are there?
Craig?
I don't think there are Uzis anymore.
And maybe Uzis just
went out of fashion.
Not,
I guess
I'm sure they exist.
They're probably hard to conceal, I would imagine.
Maybe
they just sound
Uzi
really hard to
back?
shoot. Like I think there's just very inaccurate guns.
The basically constant police brutality, harassment, skirting the rules.
Yeah,
all that
that's
stuff.
just the 80s. You know that's going to be in there.
And
wait, do you think Uzis could come back like vinyl?
Oh, like maybe Craig's generation reclaims it as like
physical media.
Yeah, physical media Uzis.
So instead of DVDs, Sean starts collecting Uzis.
So yeah, it's this great 87 Uzi. What else do you have?
Billy Crystal's scarf move that he pulls like 3 times where he flips the scarf over. It doesn't seem like a very Danny Costanzo thing to do. It seemed like a Crystal bit that he wanted. And I just also think you just don't really see a lot of guys walking in when their friend is having sex and then like flopping down on the bed and being like, want some breakfast. I mean,
also Gregory Hines couldn't be more comfortable with the fact that Billy Crystal just interrupted coitus. He's like, well, okay, we got to go.
He might have finished like 10 minutes earlier. He was okay with it. Forgot to mention during the Crystal part, because I knew Crystal from Soap, because Soap was a great show. And he played a gay character in Soap, which was a big deal because there was no gay characters on TV. He played Jody.
Yeah.
And it felt like it was gonna like pigeonhole him a little because it was so unusual for somebody to play a gay character. It was like, oh, the gay guy from Soap. And then he eventually started doing comedy, but then SNL, he broke out of it. And then this movie, I think really shed, oh, it's that guy from Soap who's on SNL. And it just was like surprising to see him in a movie like this. And then he pulled it off. It was really good.
Yeah. The only other thing that I think ages the worst is just the like, the way that the scenes at the second half of the film or the last hour are a little bit repetitive with Julio. Like,
yeah, you could have cut out one of them.
He kidnaps Anna. That it's like, oh yeah, now there's some stakes.
Yeah, I would have said for what stage the worst. We probably could have cut about 7 minutes.
Yeah, so
the
the airport sequence is long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have the overall soundtrack isn't good. McDonald carries it, but McDonald is like Jordan on the 86 Bulls. Everything else is bad.
It's when like yacht rock kind of transitions to smooth R&B.
Yeah.
And there's like, I think it's like that 80s kind of like kind of adult contemporary, but also clubbier sound that is just
kind of just loud and overtly happy and synths and like that opening theme song. It's just bad.
Yeah.
They're showing Chicago and it's like the worst possible song, but this was happening over and over again.
I wonder if it would have been better if they had just gone full Faltermeyer and gotten,
right,
a really good synth soundtrack.
Or gone like just full yacht rock.
Yeah.
Like they could have just grabbed a bunch of them. I guess they didn't know what yacht rock was yet. The snow looks fake in some of the scenes.
It is fake in some of the scenes.
Yeah, I noticed. It just didn't have like, it felt like they cheaped out on that. This movie's rated R, and I don't know why they didn't just earn the R. So I'm going to bring out an old category we haven't had very, very many times. The Mallory Rubin Award for did this movie need a better sex scene?
So just
might have had Hines maybe step in there for about 30 seconds. It's 1986. Come on, man. This is going to be on cable for 5 years.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Or like at least like have some more like sex happening in the apartments that they bust into. Right?
Sure. Just a random, this was the era of like
drug dealer having
oh my God,
sex.
There's a naked lady for no reason.
I was waiting for the classic 80s gratuitous
nudity. Where was it?
I'm kind of surprised that there's not like an Anna's just showering for 2 minutes for some reason.
There's also, they flirt with it. There's that one moment where the woman has the sheets over her.
Yes.
And they don't show anything. All the Key West stuff. It's like they never, I don't know why they don't get there.
Yeah, we didn't have like a nude beach scene.
It's true.
Yeah, Craig, you've
reprogrammed me.
We've groomed Craig.
I'm like, what the hell?
Expect nudity. So a sequel titled a sequel titled Still Running was planned. Different scripts written, and Crystal and Hines just didn't think any of them were good enough and turned all of them down, which brings me a runner-up hottest take for me is as I said earlier, I felt like they left hundreds of millions on the table.
Do you want me to do my hottest take now?
Yeah, do
basically that. So my hottest take is that there's a world in which this is Lethal Weapon.
Yeah, I don't even think that's a hot take.
So number one, Lethal Weapon came out, I think you could say in a softer box office environment. It's still a lot of big ones, but
it's a year later, 87.
So Lethal Weapon comes out. It's the number one movie in the country. Nightmare on Elm Street 3, Platoon, Angel Heart, Outrageous Fortune, Some Kind of Wonderful, Mannequin, Hoosiers, Black Widow, Crocodile Dundee, which had been out for a really long time.
Mannequin. The movie.
That's a much better environment for Running Scared to be released in. And then also, if they had just continued the vibe and picked and choose how they were going to do it, the way Lethal Weapon was like, okay, obviously, like Gibson and Glover have incredible chemistry. They're secretly super funny together. Let's just play that up and throw Pesci in there or whatever.
Yeah.
Like that just makes so much more sense for Running Scared to do that. If they're like, okay, like we did the Julio Gonzalez plot, let's make a much more like discernible crime plot, but just let these guys cook. And maybe you started in Florida.
Danny finds out he's not Italian.
He takes the first 23andMe.
Right. He's like, wait, what? I would do Running Scared 2, One Last Job. Where now it's like, this is officially, they have to do this one crime in Chicago and then they're off to Key West.
Oh, I see. I would flip it. I would have Running Scared 2 starts in Florida.
No, that's Running Scared 3.
Oh.
Running Scared 2, One Last Job.
Is back
Running
to the
Scared
Keys.
3, we're in Key West. These guys don't want this life anymore. But some angry drug dealer from years past comes down and terrorizes
Running Scared 3, Kilo West.
And you know what? Hines probably dies in Running Scared 3.
Oh, yeah. But they always
or maybe
that
dies
with
in
Lethal
Running
Weapon,
Scared
where
4.
they were like, maybe we'll kill Glover.
Or Hines' wife dies. Somebody's wife or somebody, maybe Darlene Flugel dies. But what's crazy is they're like, yeah, we couldn't find a script we liked. You and I could have come up with a script in 3 minutes.
Doesn't
It's
even seem like the
hey,
first
go to
script.
Key West, open the bar, and then shit goes down.
Yeah,
what are we
really
doing?
Strange.
Really makes me mad. My hottest take, and I really put some thought into this. This movie and Cocktail when he goes to Jamaica, and the movie Hard Bodies on HBO were the 3 most aspirational location movies for me, where I watched the movie and I was like, that place seems amazing. Because Hard Bodies was like Santa Monica, Malibu. It was oh my God, that looks awesome. Jamaica with Cruise, it was like, holy shit, what's going on there? That'd be amazing.
And then Key West.
Imagine just living there, and then whatever Key West, whatever they made it look like in this movie, which I think it could have worked for whatever. And then Miami Vice would be the TV show version of that, where they would then show Miami. Like, man, that place looks awesome.
Have you ever gone on vacation with your wife or whatever, friends, and been like, I think I want to move here?
I mean, like every time I go on vacation.
Yeah.
The one place that's an aspirational place I've never been to is Zihuatanejo, just to do the Andean Red trip.
Yeah.
It's a little more complicated to get there from LA than I think. But
it's like a long drive after you fly down,
I think it's a little harder to find the exact spot, but I've thought about it. But just as a kid living in the fucking East Coast with bad weather, and those guys go to Key West, and it's like, why do I live here? What am I doing?
I know.
So I eventually moved. The Ruffalo, Hannah Rubinek, Partridge overacting where it's Hedaya, but I think it has to be because he's the over screaming lieutenant. Would you go with somebody else?
I had Julio screaming my Coke and his death scene.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. It probably is. Was there a better title for this movie? I think there was. What is Running Scared? What does that even mean? Who's running scared in this movie? Nobody.
That's a really good question.
Scared.
What would the alternative be? Like, what's your fix for that? Danny and Ray? You know, like what's like Turner,
I was thinking, can't believe there's not a movie called One Last Job. But I guess this movie isn't One Last Job.
Oh, you know what? Maybe Short Time, because it's like, I know that is another name for another movie, but like, because the whole thing is like they've got 30 days left before they go to Florida. Maybe they could do something with that.
Short Time. I was thinking Chicago Heat. It's Chicago, but they really want the heat.
Yeah.
I don't know. What is there a title, Craig? It's tough.
Bisexual buddies? I don't know. They're definitely bisexual.
Yeah. Homoerotic Chicago cops?
Yeah. Guys pouring beer on each other while they're fishing?
Yeah. We're doing that after the pod. I brought some beer. The "Can you dig it" award for most memorable quote has to be "You have the right to a coroner." That was really strong.
I also really like, excuse me, we're from Noise Busters. Do you know where the Menudo concert is?
Yeah, that's good. Casting what ifs. You mentioned how it was supposed to be 2 old New York City cops. Allegedly, it was Hackman and Newman in mind, but they never brought it to them. But then, according to the internets, Tom Selleck and John Travolta were going to be the cops.
Yeah, and Selleck did Magnum.
Selleck was doing Magnum. And Travolta's agent, Mike Ovitz, said, I don't like it, turned it down. If you look at Travolta's career from 85 to 1993, it's amazing they turned this down. I can't imagine there was a better script. Yeah. We saw some of the stuff he did. So that's really all I could find. And Peter Hyams loved Darlene Flugel from To Live and Die in LA. So you guys have something in common.
Can I do 5 seconds on Hyams?
Yeah.
So if people are listening and they're interested in like buddy cop stuff, they should go check out this movie from '74 called Busting that he did with Elliot Gould and Robert Forster. It's really, really, really good. I think it's on Tubi.
Oh, by the way, this movie's on Tubi.
Yeah, this is the most Tubi ever.
Yeah, you go on Tubi, it's always in like the first 2 rows.
And you'll have a lot of fun with the recommended if you like Running Scared.
You hit Running Scared, you're going to get 20
the algo
20
is gonna,
recs.
Thank you. Yeah, he did 2010, The Year We Make Contact, which is like a kind of controversial sequel to 2001, but has started to become a little bit more beloved as the years go on. And it's just like, obviously like a very, very talented filmmaker. He shoots his own stuff. In some cases, he edits it too. And this movie looks fucking incredible. Like when you watch the interiors of this movie, there's like a scene where Hines is at the evidence locker to get the coke. And there's this shot where it's like all black below him and black above him. So he's almost letterboxed by the lighting because it's just one overhead light. And I'm like, why does this 1986 movie look better than Gladiator 2? Like it is really crazy.
He did 2 movies that I really like. Capricorn 1.
Yeah.
Which
I would do that.
Finally, somebody was trying to tell us that the moon landing never happened. Finally, somebody had the balls to step forward.
Uh-huh.
And that was before Kubrick made The Shining about the moon landing.
Shining is one of my favorite pods we've done.
And then Sudden Death, which we've done on the Rewatchables. Yeah. Van Damme. I don't know if Craig produced that one.
Yeah.
Van Damme plays goalie?
Of course.
Yeah.
That was not that long
Craig's
ago.
on his phone. He's checked out. Sending texts. Try to get the weekend plan.
He's like, anybody got a blue bike out there I could borrow?
Yeah, Hines is good, though. All right, the Joey Pants Award for Best That Guy. Joey Pants automatically wins. Dan Hedaya could have won. 2 more people we should mention, though.
3.
Oh, what do you got?
Larry Hankin as the cop mechanic.
You know who Larry Hankin is, right, Craig?
What else? Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Cranky Old Neighbor and Friends.
Yeah, the guy who gives him the cab, who makes the cab. Yeah, he's in a bunch of stuff.
He is. I got to be honest, I didn't know his name was Larry Hankin until I was doing this pod.
And that is the true test of a that guy.
He is like, such a that guy. Yeah.
Don Calfa, who is Aunt Rose's attorney. Remember when he's like trying to give him the inheritance and he's like, you got to go see him. He's in the bathroom or whatever. That guy is the hitman from Weekend at Bernie's.
Good call.
And then Jonathan.
That guy's hilarious.
Yeah. Jonathan Grease, who's Bauer's partner, and he's in Napoleon Dynamite.
Yeah, Uncle Rico.
Yeah.
Oh my God, you didn't even list his 2 best things.
Well, give it to me.
Well, White Lotus.
Yeah.
He plays, what's her face? Is Jennifer Coolidge's mysterious husband.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. That's his most famous part. Everyone knows him from that.
It feels like that guy shrunk.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, okay.
But then he was Dylan McKay's drug dealer in season 5 of 90210. He got him hooked on the H.
He gave him a little taste.
He gave him a little taste. Try this, Dylan. But yeah, he was a great that guy. And then I feel like White Lotus
made him
almost that guy to him.
Yeah.
Dan Waiters Award. Pants is eligible.
Yeah.
Bauer's amazing.
I kind of am shading Bauer.
Yeah, I think it's Bauer. Recasting couch director or city. I have no notes. I don't know if I touch anyone.
So would you want to recast it with guys in the 80s, or would you want to do a contemporary version of this?
Who are the cops in the contemporary version? We just don't have any marketable actors anymore. Could have
guys who are 35, right? Because Hines' character is turning like 36.
I mean, you have like Powell and Teller.
No, they're too cute, man.
What about like Driver and Chalamet?
I was thinking Chalamet too.
That's a little early for Chalamet to be retired.
We can't have Driver because that means the movie will bomb. Make $5 million.
I feel like it's always Driver. Every time we do this, we're like Driver.
I was wondering if it's Chalamet because it's like a nice zag for him.
But he's
just
like,
playing like a Chicago cop
what is he,
out
like
of
29?
nowhere. Yeah.
What about like Donald Glover as one of the cops?
Donald Glover.
Because I feel
like he tried to do that in that Amazon show and I never bought it.
That was like more like a relationship show.
So Chalamet is probably like 3 years too young.
No.
Glenn Powell's too obvious. Why don't we have more actors for this conversation? And then I think the Hines part is probably definitely like a musician or an athlete.
Yeah.
Like for the stunt casting
Anthony
element
Edwards.
of it. It's LeBron.
Well, do you have to
LeBron is Gregory Hines.
Do you have to start with a comedian? I feel like we're going after the actor.
What about Craig's guy, Marcelo Hernandez?
What about like Shane Gillis?
Oh, Shane Gillis is pretty interesting.
As Danny. But we'd have to make Shane Gillis pretend to be Italian. That would be really funny.
Shane Gilliendo.
Shane Gillis is good. I can't come up with it. I'm trying to think of people. Usually SNL would have been the feeder system for this, but I can't imagine anyone at SNL. It's like Andrew Dismukes. Here he goes. Romo, Collinsworth, or someone else for the director's commentary. We'll probably have the same one for this.
I had Doris.
You Doris. Oh, good. I have somebody else.
We see you, Mr. Gonzalez. You've been arrested, accused, bailed, jailed, and paroled. And you're still managing to bring in dozens of kilos from the jungles of Colombia. The street value, who can say? But what can be said is the value you bring to your organization.
I keep watching the NBA is back. I keep waiting for her to break into
and
it.
She doesn't really. I mean, that would just become a character unto itself.
Mike, Billy Crystal just made the greatest joke I've ever heard in my life. He said, Oblo, Smith, and Wesson. That's just unbelievable, Mike.
Oh, Mike. I mean, this guy, Danny Costanza, Billy
so
Crystal
good.
Screams Italian American.
We should be on. He should be on stage with us watching him, Mike. Half-Assed Internet Research. Speaking of Billy Crystal, in his 1986 book, Absolutely Marvelous, he said he accidentally whacked himself in the head with a pistol by accident, split open his nose, and needed plastic surgery. Oh. I bring this up because I had no idea he wrote a book called Absolutely Marvelous.
Did you immediately eBay it?
Did you know that book existed?
Of course not. No.
He said in 2021, because Gregory Hines sadly died, Crystal said, it was just so much fun making that movie. I miss Gregory Hines terribly. Occasionally I'll put it on and watch just as a way of visiting with Greg.
I
would do that with you if you ever died. I would watch old Rewatchables episodes. I miss fucking CR. I'm going to watch The Town with Russillo.
Yeah. God damn, I miss CR.
So the grand finale.
Daniel X, like, that's what he gets for talking about Shiloh.
Shouldn't have talked about Apple. The grand finale took place inside the gleaming new structure called State of Illinois Center. Which apparently was a big deal. It was a very cool location for a movie scene.
They sold it to Google. But,
oh, really?
Yeah. I love in action movies where they're like, the meat needs to be somewhere public so that they can just choose somewhere amazing to shoot it, you know? Because like,
you're right. It's never like some like off
in like back alley
bar. Yeah, some bar that's like 3 streets off of a street.
No, it's always like an amusement park or something like that.
Apex Mountain. Crystal, no.
That's what, City Slickers to you?
Yeah, I think we said it was City Slickers when we did this.
Not When Harry Met Sally?
I think during City Slickers, we realized it was City Slickers. Because like, he had Oscars going at that point. Hines, I think there's a case.
Sure.
Because now he's a real movie guy. He's this great dancer. And then it eventually leads to them making the movie Tap. Which is one of the many late 80s misfire movie ideas we had, where it's like, he's a tap dancer. He wants to get
sensation. Yeah.
He wants to get out of the world of tap, but
they
he's got to stay in.
A lot of occupations back in the 80s.
Yeah.
It's like if you had a job, there was probably a movie about it.
Right. It was like, I deliver food on a bicycle.
Yeah.
Wow, Quicksilver.
Now it's like, is Thanos in it? No. But like, you know, there used to just be like the postman.
Yeah, if we had the same approach now, it'd be like Uber driver.
Yeah.
Key West, Apex Mountain for me. It's this versus the Real World season with Johnny Bananas.
Not Hemingway living there?
Well, that could be there too. I don't know. Johnny Bananas versus Hemingway. Really depends on what you like.
Contributions to society. Yeah.
Johnny Bananas is still around. Joey Pants, no.
Yeah, he didn't take the coward's way out like Hemingway. That's because TJ hates quitters.
Johnny Bananas, 7-time champ.
Yeah.
Going for number 8 right now. Chicago movie cops.
I really like those assholes in Thief who keep rousting Jimmy Kahn.
I have Jack Walsh.
Okay.
Also Home Alone, right?
Oh, yeah. Technically not cops, but yeah.
Oh, yeah, it does. Sorry, yeah.
Jack Walsh had to leave the force because he wouldn't do a buyout from Serrano.
When are we going to re-Midnight? Rerun?
We're getting Matt Damon to join us for that. I'm just telling you now. It's happening.
Is that like his favorite movie?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That's when we go, when we get a real studio and we bring some star power in. Unlike now. Jimmy Smits.
That's when I fake my own death so that you start remembering me fondly.
That's when AI Chris takes over. Jimmy Smits, no.
Nope. And that's NYPD Blue, you think?
Probably, yeah. Him and Franz.
Yeah.
I mean, he was winning. Did he win Emmys for that?
I feel like they just.
He's good on that show.
Yeah.
Chicago bars. I still think it's the About Last Night bar.
I think it's the
Mother. What was it called? Mothers and About Last Night.
No, but yeah.
If I don't see you in Mothers.
What's the name of the bar in Thief? The Green something.
Oh, that's a good one. I haven't watched Thief since we did the pot. I gotta crank it up. And Khan blows
it up at the end.
Yeah. Dan Hedaya.
I mean, this is around like him. He's Blood Simple's around this time.
Well, he's Eddie Tortelli too.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Yeah.
Like,
I think
and
this
he's
is
probably
probably
the most
peak
fan.
today.
Oh, I think it is. Michael McDonald's songs, no, but I think videos, yes. And then Yacht Rock was the opposite Apex Mountain because this is the official end of Yacht Rock.
Yeah.
So I don't know what that is.
Were there any other, in retrospect or upon further reflection, Yacht Rock coded movies that we could have done?
Really? No. I don't think so.
There are movies from the 70s set in LA that feel yacht rocky, even if they aren't explicitly like the Robert Altman Long Goodbye with Elliot Gould is kind of yacht rocky to me.
But it didn't have the music to add to the.
Yeah.
Yeah, that really no. I don't see it. Cruise or Hanks?
I'm gonna go Hanks.
It has to be Hanks. Hanks wins.
I think Hanks could very easily play Danny.
No question. What's the scorecard? I think Hanks is winning. I think Hanks in the 80s should have made a movie like this. He tried a couple times and didn't find the right script. Like, I think he thought Dragnet might be a version of this, and it wasn't.
Hanks is winning 18-14.
Oh, fucking Cruise. Have that, Cruise.
Well, because also, like, wasn't Hanks around this time doing, like, Volunteers? Like, he was trying to do, like, kind of action comedies, too.
Racehorse, rock band, wrestler, fantasy team name?
Actually, can I just throw Cruise or Hanks? And for these movies especially, I always think this. The third way would have been Michael Keaton. Michael Keaton as Danny after Night Shift.
Would have been a great Danny. I really love Crystal in this, but yeah, Keaton could have done it. Racehorse, rock band, wrestler, fantasy team name. Sweet Freedom.
Julio's Coke.
Where's my Coke? Pick a nits.
I got one right off the top.
Go.
Why did anybody jump out to anybody that Ray kisses Danny's ex like full on the mouth like a lot?
So I noticed this. There's a sexual energy with them that made me super uncomfortable, and it made me wonder if that was why they broke up.
She's like, I'm always gonna come to your birthday parties. It's always like a pretty full lips kiss, which is
and like a full body hug.
Everybody should just do whatever makes them happy. But I was like, I would not be into this.
It's pretty weird. It jumped out to me too.
There's some Challengers energy with these three.
Yeah.
Yeah. Challengers energy.
That's really good.
That's a good category. The Challengers Award for the sexual attention that I don't really understand.
Yeah.
Picking it for me is just Gonzalez is just running amok in this movie.
Yes.
And I know this is an 80s trope, but he's just complete. There's just no laws. And meanwhile, like a big theme of Chicago's 80s movies is how much police there is and how important the police is, and there's either police corruption or there's police, and
there
seems
to be
like
huge
he's doing his thing
between the police department and the district attorney's office in this movie
because
they keep catching this guy and he keeps getting paroled or let go or bailed, whatever.
Tiny nitpick on the cars driving on the tracks.
Okay, I
feel like that would go terribly. I think that's so much harder to do than anyone would realize. Like you're bouncing. The moment you fall off one track, I think the car just.
Also, like I was 9, so I don't know. But even in 1986, I don't feel like cops would just like aimlessly shoot at escaping vehicles, hoping to hit something.
Yeah,
like would they?
No.
Yeah.
I have the ending where we have this like crazy shootout. Both guys get shot. His wife has to jump and 15 floors up from one elevator to another, and they finally kill this guy. And this should have been like, I can't wait to get to Key West, and instead it's like,
this is my biggest problem with this.
I
have a lot of unanswerable questions about this.
Well, all of a sudden he's like, no, actually, we should stay cops.
Yeah.
It's like, what just happened should make you not want to be cops.
Yes.
You should want to go to Key West. You already paid for the bar. Like, Key West sounds great.
Yeah.
Go to Key West.
Another nitpick is when Danny gets shot full in the chest by a fellow police officer.
Yeah.
And they're just kind of like,
whoa,
you should have watched where you're fucking standing. Like, there's no accountability for that.
That shootout scene is a whole nitpick. Like, there's just a lot of close range, like people as close as me to you, and just shooting this way. Anything else?
No, I have mostly unanswerable questions.
Sequel, prequel, prestige TV, all black cast,
sequel.
untouchable. There should have been 3 sequels. We covered that. Is this movie better with Wayne Jenkins, Danny Trejo, Sid Goldberg, Sam Jackson, JT Walsh, Nell, Byron Mayo, Harling Mays, evil laughing Ramon Raymond. Might have to bump him. Ramon's never won this category. Long Legs or Philip Baker Hall.
Well, Should we give it to Ramon Raymond and make him one of Julio's lieutenants?
Well, or he could have been Stephen Bauer's partner.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Hey, Danny, you think you're going to catch this guy?
I would also say a little early for him, but Sam Jackson would be a great snake. Early Sam Jackson taking the Joey Pants Award. Or
he could have been, yeah, I mean, Sam Jackson could have been anywhere in this movie. I had Trejo, because I think Trejo could have been like Jimmy Smits' lead henchman. He's right around the right age for Trejo.
Yeah.
I just think he helps the movie.
That would have been great.
Nell, I also was thinking about too. Where they're in the elevator and he's trying to get her to jump, and she's like,
would it have been better
if, jump.
If Julio was long legs? Give me back my Coke, Daddy!
Where's my Coke? Danny, your partner is fucking your wife. He's getting in there. Just one Oscar, who gets it? It's got to be Michael McDonald for Sweet
Freedom.
Song. Yeah, for best song. Probably unanswerable questions. Let's do it. Did these guys ever move to Key West? Because they never made a fucking sequel, and then Gregory Hines died, so we're never getting one.
About this. Do they say they're going to stay in Chicago? I looked this up. 1986 mortgage rates, 10.19%.
Jesus.
So fucking Danny is underwater on this lease, like instantaneously, if he's not already down there slinging shrimp.
Right. He's got to immediately get like 50% off 5 to 8.
But he's going to be annihilated by that, right?
10. Yeah, that's tough.
Because Julio says to him, I'm going to give you 150 grand, which is like more than the note on that bar that you just leased.
Yeah.
And they're like, no. But like, if they don't go down there and start pumping beer out of there, they're fucking dead financially. So that's one thing. Second, Anna clearly perked back up for Danny when he was like, I'm moving to Florida. She was like, great, you finally have seen yourself outside of Chicago and outside.
So it was the job that was breaking them up.
Right. So when he's like, actually on second thought, now that we're making out, I'm going to continue to be a detective in Chicago and get shot at all the time.
Yeah.
Is she like, all right, great, I'm going back to my dentist?
She's like, I'm going back to Ray.
Yeah, so that's my those are my two big ones, the loan and what happens to the relationship.
Just go to Key West. The last scene of this movie should be like the last scene in Trading Places.
Absolutely.
They should be at the bar, super happy. The wife's there. Hines has some hot lady with him, and it's 50%
he's got
off.
the girl he's been sleeping with throughout the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Best double feature choice. I had Stakeout.
That's a really good one. I was going to go Busting just because of Hines, but yeah.
You know Stakeout, Craig? No. Emilio Estevez and Richard Dreyfuss?
Yeah.
Classic. Good enough that they made a sequel. They made a sequel for Stakeout.
In the second one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Made a sequel to that and not to this. The Indian Reds won an award. What happened the next day? We talked about it. What piece of memorabilia would you want from this movie?
I could just get it, but the White Sox hat.
The boobs t-shirts?
What?
Like the actual worn from the movie t-shirts?
What actual like reality do you think you could wear a boobs t-shirt in? Like around the house?
Halloween, dressed as the cops?
Yeah,
just
but
like we're going as the running scared guys?
That popular of a movie. If you and I did like Halloween wearing boobs t-shirts, I don't think people would get it.
Craig?
You could wear it when you're back at college with Ben.
That's true.
Ben would wear it right now. Maybe in Trump's America, boobs t-shirts will come back.
That's true.
The Honda Elite scooters that they have, the movie-driven scooters would be cool.
Have you ever been back on a scooter since that accident?
No, I retired.
And if Ben was like, I want to get a Honda Elite, would you let him?
I would strangle him.
Okay.
Yeah. The Coach Finstock Award for Best Life Lesson. You can't go from marrying a cop to marrying a dentist. That was the biggest lesson I learned from this.
I was going to say, if you think you want to move to Key West, you do. And you should stay. You should go. Don't go back to Chicago.
What's your Key West, CR? Don't say Portland. I'm throwing my body in front of that.
No, I got to pick somewhere more exotic and beautiful. There's an island off of Croatia called Vis that I really like.
See, now we're talking.
Yeah.
Yeah. You get some basketball.
Yeah.
You could pick a side in
Maybe
the Croatia Serbia basketball rivalry.
Yeah. Semi-pro team.
Start setting some of the 3-point offenses.
Yeah.
Who won the movie? It's a really tough one.
I'm gonna go Crystal. But it's close with him and Hines.
I agree with you because this movie allows Crystal to have the next 5 years that he had.
Yeah.
He needed to prove that he could be in a movie, as we could see from the poster. Hines was the star and Crystal was basically the sidekick.
Even though he has the more articulated love arc.
Well, we've reached the time when we asked producer Craig, who had never heard of this movie or seen it, for his opinion.
I liked this movie a lot. I liked the chemistry between Hines and Crystal was great. I do think watching it made me realize how much I love like Lethal Weapon and Midnight Run and Beverly Hills Cop. This feels a tier below. I feel like the chemistry was there, but it's a little flatter.
Because there's no tension.
There's no tension. It's like they're just kind of hanging around trying to catch this one guy. There's not a ton of stakes. I think Lethal Weapon is darker and funnier. This is just a little bit more kind of just, I don't want to say going through the motions.
It's an easier watch.
Yeah. You can go to the bathroom during it and come back and it's okay. And Lethal Weapon, I feel like I'm a little bit more invested in the performances and the storyline and stuff like that.
I think this is more of like what you would call like a programmer. Like this is like a 3 p.m. cable, like, oh shit, the Running Scared's on. Like I'm going to watch this for 25 minutes.
Yeah, it's less fully formed.
Yeah. But I still really like the more you watch it, the more stuff you're like, oh man, I forgot about this part or like that outfit that he's wearing, stuff like that.
I like hanging out with the guys.
Yeah.
So this movie could have either been 20 minutes shorter or like 3 hours longer. And I was good either way.
I really liked Hines. I don't think I've ever seen a movie with him. I know he was in Will and Grace a little bit. I remember him from, but I don't really have a huge connection to him.
He's one of those where the career didn't match the way I wish it had gone.
Well, I think outside of the movies, he's considered like an American cultural institution because of his contributions to.
But I just feel like he just could have been in a bunch of cool movies.
Yeah.
Can I say, what is up with men's underwear in this movie?
Well, the
briefs or the long johns?
No, the long johns I get. It's when they, like Pantoliano, when he strips, like there's 2 scenes of men in underwear and it's like these very tight little things.
No, that was the era.
Boxers weren't
called them banana hammocks.
Everybody wore those and those were comfortable? Why was that ever the move?
It was just the way it went. And in the 90s, I think I was one of the last people who didn't move to boxers.
Oh.
And
what about
Commissioner
briefs?
Camp?
You're talking about
no, he's talking about boxer shorts.
When did the brief come into play?
After boxer shorts, to my knowledge.
Commissioner Camp in my fantasy league named my team the banana hammocks
because you would wear them.
Couldn't believe that I was still wearing that kind of underwear. I was like 3 years too late. But now I'm like full boxers.
If you went to go play pickup basketball, and were you wearing banana hammocks?
Yeah, I think I was.
Wow.
Yeah. Probably a mistake.
Yeah.
A lot of mistakes were made in the 80s.
Riding a Honda Elite.
I don't think it wasn't anything I put thought into until I went to college. Because it was like, my mom bought me this underwear, so I'll wear it.
It's useful to know that we were not bombarded with like information about every single choice that we made back then. So it was kind of like underwear was not something you thought about like a ton.
It was just funny because the clothes back then were much bulkier and bigger and roomier, and yet the underwear was incredibly tight.
I think I switched to boxers in like the late 80s.
Because when
I was like 92 range. When
Joey Pants takes off his pants and they show his underwear, I thought that was going to be like a big joke, and they kind of just move right past it.
I mean, there's this when they're on the boat fishing, when Gregory has fishing, he's wearing like a thong. And it's pretty wild for a second. And I'm just like, I don't ever remember seeing, outside of like the Mediterranean, guys wear those.
Yeah. That will never come back in America, I think.
No.
This has been Undergarment Talk with Bill Simmons and Chris Ryan.
Produced by Craig Horlbeck. Thanks to Jack and Gao as well. Our last time in the studio. Don't forget the Yacht Rock documentary. Friday, November 29th.
A lot of Michael McDonald.
All Thanksgiving weekend. A lot of Michael McDonald in it. Scenes from this movie in it. So stay tuned for that. We will see you next week on The Rewatchables.